welcome to another edition of WTN-TV Informer. I am Desiree Mago. Let's take a look at what's making the news. One man was shot Wednesday afternoon on the Bush Road. The shooting took place minutes after 1 p.m. and the victim is said to be a construction worker that was working on the water duct next to the Ernest Williams guest house. The victim is still alive and was taken to the St. Martin Medical Center by ambulance. According to reliable sources, the shooter approached the area in a dark-tinted gold Kia Rio with license plate number P4693. Shots were fired from the car, hitting the victim in his stomach. The car, with an undetermined amount of occupants, then disappeared.
Okay, yes, this afternoon at approximately 5 to 10 past 1, there was a report that came into the Central Police Dispatch informing them that a shooting had taken place behind of Beds and Beyond. That's a store on the Bush Road next to the Ernest Guest House, Beds and Beyond. At the back of Beds and Beyond, there's a construction site. It's a construction site. There's a construction going on in the back there. And we have learned that there was an argument between two persons during the day, two persons that work at the construction site. And one of the suspects left the scene for a while, close to around midday. And then he came back, I believe, with friends. And this argument, this discussion that they had earlier during the day grew to out of proportion, whereby someone shot the victim. Someone of the group of men shot the victim. The victim, he's from Jamaica, and the initials are SFH, and he was shot in the stomach. He was shot in the stomach, and of course, you had to be treated on the spot by the paramedics. And after being treated, he was taken to the St. Martin Medical Center for further treatment. At that time, we were not sure, and still are not sure exactly how serious the wound is to his stomach, but any gunshot is quite serious. But we have not received any information as yet to the extent of the damage that has been done. Anyhow, after committing this act, the persons involved fled the scene, and we are still trying to piece together exactly what and why did this happen, because this is a senseless shooting again. This is a very senseless shooting, and it's unnecessary for these things to be happening in St. Martin, especially around the time it did happen. That's around the time the children start come out of school and there is shooting in that neighborhood or in any neighborhood, and these things shouldn't be happening. So the detectives were there. They were questioning the witnesses. Forensics department was there, and they are trying to put together the situation so that we could get a better view of exactly what happened and why, and who all are involved and who all is responsible for the shooting that took place. So we are investigating.
Up to present, is the police still looking for a suspect?
Most definitely. As up to now, I haven't heard that anybody has been arrested in connection with this case. So we are definitely out searching for the suspects in this case.
And the police has an idea of who the person might be?
Yes, we have an idea who the person might be, but at this time we prefer not to release any statements or who it might be. But we do have an indication who it may be, yes.
Prime Minister Sarah Westcott Williams is awaiting the decision of the court dealing with the Pelican workers' dismissal. On Wednesday, the Prime Minister was asked to give government formal position on the matter. She was fielded questions by several media houses on the importance of government intervention in the issue. Prime Minister Sarah Westcott Williams.
We need to look at the situation at hand, and that is the issue that the employees of Pelican are facing. We need to deal specifically with that, what can be done what if any tools or mechanism is at the disposal of government to do something. And secondly, I believe that what we're going to see, and that's why it's for us a process, what we're going to see that these matters are going to trigger discussions about our laws and whether changes, etc., should come. Again, the law does not prohibit, and everybody is using that in terms of what you can do. If the law does not say it cannot be done, that means it can be done. That's the interpretation given. And the question is that really so? And I believe as we go along and encounter these type of situations, it will eventually lead to changes to our laws, ensuring that whether it be of the government, because you can have something similar in government, not about payment and full-time and so, but a situation that could appear as a conflict, we're going to be seeing these, and then you don't have something strictly that you can go according to the law and say that you have to go left or right. And when we encounter those voids, it is incumbent upon either the government or parliament to make the necessary changes, that we don't constantly be dealing with interpretations and the law is not really clear. So I see the matter in general as a process, and the progress that we're making.
Member of Parliament Louis Laveis is finalizing the draft law on MPs with jobs outside of Parliament. They will have to get a cut in their parliamentary salaries depending on what they earn in their outside jobs. Laveis presented a copy of the draft to NA leader William Marlin during last Thursday's emotional parliamentary debate on the dismissal of more than 100 Simpson Bay Resort and Marina former Pelican Resort workers. Leader of the Democratic Party, Sarah Westcott Williams, was asked by our reporters if she would support this initiative by the former member of the DP, now National Alliance, Louis Laveis.
As a party, two, as a coalition, three, as a government, we will be discussing the overall issue. Naturally, it is up to the members of Parliament, when receiving a proposal by one or more other parliamentarians, to have that discussion and decide how to go about it. Again, there is nothing wrong, and I encourage Parliament, as a Parliament, individual factions or members to come with proposals as to how to get rid of a particular situation because the law does not yet provide for it. So I think that's a good development, like I said to BB earlier, and naturally in party circles, in government circles, we will be having a discussion. I can't go into specifically from what I too have read, the proposed initiative of Member of Parliament Louis Laveis will entail. Naturally, the devil is always in the details. So you'll hear that discussion in Parliament. The concept of now narrowing down the law that is right there, right now, I think that's a positive development.
Okay, and but with the situation getting bigger by the day, the unions already met this past weekend, and they already said that if push comes to shove, they might have a whole industrial action. Will you deal with it as soon as possible?
Of course, the matter, as I said before, will be discussed, will be dealt with. What can we do? What should we do as a government? I mean, just like you are aware of, to me, the seriousness of the situation, you can imagine that government more so is aware of the seriousness of the situation.
Thank you for your questions, Andrew. Mr. Brown. Madam Prime Minister, good morning, and thank you. You talk about dealing with this matter very seriously, and let's then look at the broader issue beyond the MP Jules James. Earlier this year, when this whole debacle was playing, you had indicated one of the issues is that the current law on the transfer of companies was sort of vague, not clear about what would happen to employees when a company is sold. Has the government, because at that time it was also a serious issue, has the administration taken a look at that law and begun a process to sort of tighten that legislation, make it better so that when a company is sold, the employees are given some sort of assurance?
Yes, that discussion about transfer of business and what laws are currently in place to give a clear, for you to be able to take a clear position on it, that discussion has taken place. You will also recall that months ago, when the matter was raised, the government of St. Martin indicated that it would be interesting and necessary to see what the courts, how the courts, not what, how the courts would have interpreted the law, because that is actually in addition to it being more specific, the law, the interpretation that the courts give to these aspects of the law is also extremely important. And that is why the rulings that are coming from the courts are so important.
The Phillipsburg Jubilee Library's Children's Book Week kicked off Sunday afternoon with a mini parade led by Generation New Status Drum Band on the library grounds and some book reading and ribbon cutting by Education Minister Rhoda Arundel, supported by Member of Parliament Romaine Laville. In her address to those gathered, Arundel encouraged reading and suggested reading books on Caribbean history, to which local youngsters can relate more. She read from one of her favorite children's books before cutting the ribbon to declare Book Week officially open.
I was asked by the library, and I'm going to read from the invitation, to perform the opening ceremony by reading a part of your favorite children's book. So I'm going to read to you a part from one of my favorite books. But before I read to you, I want to give you a little synopsis of my reading experience. And I think this is cardinal to what we do in education and what we are about to do with the Ministry of Education in St. Martin. I learned to read at the age of 3. I had a mother who was a Sunday school teacher, and she taught me to read. And she taught me to read from the only book she had at home, which was the Bible. And I think most of us from that generation learned to read from the Bible. We didn't have a Phillipsburg Jubilee Library. We didn't have internet. Yeah, we didn't have a lot of the nice amenities that you young people today have. We had the Bible at home, and I learned to read from the Bible. I was not allowed to read what was my favorite book at the time, which were Archie comics. I don't know if those things are still around, but my favorite books were Archie comics, and I was not allowed to read them because my family at the time, these were their values, that Archie's comics was bad English, and if you read Archie, you would be somehow, exposed to bad English and not be able to read proper labels. That was the thinking at the time. I was fortunate to join the Phillipsburg Jubilee Library, which we just called the library in those days, when it was on Back Street. I don't know if you know that the library used to be on Back Street, where the cultural center is. And I still refer to that building as the library, so people have to forgive me sometimes if I meet at the library over there on Back Street. And my favorite books at that time, when I finally got into the library and got a library card, were, I don't know if anybody can relate to this, Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew. Of course, you read everything you could find in the library, but Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew books were my favorite for a very long time, until I became a teenager, and then you got into Hardy, Quain's, Bills, and Books, and those other studies I carry in person.
And that is the end of WTN TV Informer. Until the next edition, I am Desiree Mago. Enjoy your week.